Welcome to another episode of Tom Talks Film. In this second episode, focusing on Warner Brothers' 1939 film Confessions of a Nazi Spy, I'm going to dive into the studio's influence on public opinion leading up to World War II. In the last episode, I examined Warner Brothers' advertisements and its role in shaping public opinion. In this episode, I will explore the studio's internal communications and production processes that further support this argument. Most of the information presented here is sourced from the Warner Brothers archives at the University of Southern California, and whose dedicated staff provided invaluable assistance during my research. To recap a few critical details from the previous episode, Confessions of a Nazi Spy was the first anti-Nazi propaganda film released by any major studio in Hollywood. Filmmakers incorporated real-world activities to create an early version of what we now know as a docudrama. Warner Brothers' print advertising leveraged appeals to fear and patriotism to attract audiences to the theaters. They also promoted their film as an educational tool for combating Nazi activities within the United States. The historical backdrop against which this film emerged is one of ideological conflict and geopolitical tension. By 1935, Hitler's Nazi government was actively creating anti-Semitic laws and policies, setting the stage for World War II and the Holocaust. While the Reich Ministry of Public Enlightenment and Propaganda utilized movies to promote other ideological ideas, it wasn't until 1939 that they started using cinema to convey their anti-Semitic beliefs, with Robert and Bertram representing their first anti-Semitic film. Simultaneously, in the United States, a parallel narrative was unfolding. The rise of the German-American Bund and the activities of people like Guenther Rumrich underscored the global reach of Nazi propaganda. Using the tools at their disposal and their acute awareness of Nazi activities occurring within the United States, Warner Brothers responded by creating Confessions of a Nazi Spy and its associated marketing campaign to galvanize Americans and shift public opinion away from isolationism and toward interventionism. With their extensive research, secretive production practices, deceptive on-screen portrayals, and strategic publicity campaigns, Warner Brothers actively shaped the narrative around this film to urge Americans into the theaters. Archival materials provide compelling evidence that filmmakers promoted this film as something akin to a documentary and sought to link it to the activities of Guenther Rumrich, with the FBI's case concluding just 155 days before the film's release. Starting in 1936, a group of enthusiastic German Americans renamed their organized social group the German-American Bund, who, at their peak, hosted what they called the Pro-America Rally, with 20,000 Nazi supporters at Madison Square Garden in 1939. Banners of juxtaposed American and Nazi symbology adorned the arena as the Bund promoted anti-Semitic ideology under the direction of their president, Fritz Kuhn. During that same period, Guenther Rumrich, an American-born son of an Austrian diplomat, was using his experience in the U.S. Army to convince the Nazi military of his connections, and which ultimately led to his assignment with Abwehr, the Nazi counterintelligence service. The FBI investigation led to the conviction of Rumrich and numerous others for their espionage activities within the United States. The Reich Ministry's propaganda, the activities of the German-American Bund, and the Nazi military activities within the United States are fundamental to understanding Warner Brothers' decision to create Confessions of a Nazi Spy. To reiterate from the previous episode, Warner Brothers could have easily made an anti-Nazi propaganda film focused on the Nazi government and military operations in Germany. However, a distant ideological conflict wouldn't have been enough to shift American public opinion away from isolationism. By depicting German military and Bund operations within the United States, Warner Brothers, through their print advertising, brought these activities to every neighborhood in the country. Internal Warner Brothers documents indicate the studio began pre-production work on this film nearly a year before its release, taking several steps to maintain secrecy. During the Rumrich trial, screenwriter Milton Krims was covertly paid under a different film while attending the trial and taking contemporaneous notes. Throughout the pre-production and production phases, Confessions of a Nazi Spy was listed under at least 4 working titles, including Confessions of Nancy Drew, although this particular title may have been tongue-in-cheek as it appeared in an inter-office memo following the end of production, and documents showed the publicity office was already creating materials under the title Confessions of a Nazi Spy. In my initial examination of this advertisement, I argued that Warner Brothers deviated from their typical design to manipulate readers into attending their movie using appeals to fear and patriotism. This example also illustrates how the studio aimed to present the film as an educational tool hoping it would be perceived as something akin to a documentary. But you don't have to take my word for it. Enter Morse Ebenstein, a Warner Brothers executive office lawyer who consulted on many films during his career with the studio. According to inter-office memos sent to the film's producers and publicity department, Ebenstein was deeply concerned with his observations of the advertising material. He even declared in one memo that nothing can go into the publicity which suggests that our film shows actual facts. The most we can suggest is that the espionage methods and the methods of exposing the spies are real. Ebenstein made similar concern statements before production started, as an early version of the script contained the real names of several people involved in the Rumrich trial, including Leon G. Turo, the FBI agent who uncovered the espionage ring. These internal documents clearly connect Confessions of a Nazi Spy to the Rumrich trial and go even deeper, as Turo is credited as the film's technical advisor. Within the film's examined archival material, studio researchers collected numerous newsletters produced by News Research Services. Lauren Rosenwig, author of Hollywood Spies, reported in her book, News Research Services served as the press agency for the Los Angeles Jewish Community Committee. These newsletters, ranging in size, contained information about Nazi operations occurring within the United States and even described the actions of the German-American Bund in great detail, with one newsletter front page highlighting an image of Fritz Kuhn meeting with Adolf Hitler and suggesting a conversation about the Bund's role during World War II. During the film, several scenes were set on the SS Bismarck, a fictional German ocean liner used to transport information and spies in and out of New York Harbor. However, during the Rumrich trial, the actual name of this vessel was the SS Europa. Archival documents for the film include numerous photographs with handwritten notes indicating they are of the Europa while at the port in New York Harbor. These photographs were likely used during the set design phase before production began. Interestingly, in my research on the Bismarck in Europa, I came to understand Germany did build an ocean liner under the banner SS Bismarck. However, it was part of war reparations paid to England after World War I and was immediately renamed the RMS Majestic once Britain took control. While there is no concrete evidence to support it, it is possible Warner Brothers chose the name Bismarck to invoke a stronger connection to Germany and its history, as the Bismarck was only briefly under German control. The SS Bismarck, later known as the RMS Majestic, had only been recently decommissioned and dismantled for scrap metal when this film began production. Now, turning back to the German-American Bund, it is particularly noteworthy that this is the only real-world entity whose name was not significantly altered for the film. While specific Bund members were renamed, such as Fritz Kuhn being represented by the character Dr. Karl Castle, the organization itself retained its real name. This decision is significant as it reflects the filmmaker's intent to address and critique the real-world organization directly. As a result of this bold decision, just 9 days after the film's release, Fritz Kuhn filed a $5 million lawsuit against Warner Brothers, the two credited screenwriters, and the film's technical advisor. Kuhn's legal action claimed that the film defamed him and his organization, seeking substantial monetary reparations. Additionally, he petitioned the courts to issue a restraining order and to prevent defendants from showing the film under any circumstance. This lawsuit underscores the impact and controversy generated by the film, highlighting its fearless approach to confronting the Nazi influence in America through the German-American Bund. The fact that the organization was named directly rather than being disguised or fictionalized demonstrates the filmmaker's commitment to shining a light on the real threats posed by such groups during that era. By using the actual name, Warner Brothers aimed to emphasize the immediacy and relevance of the threat, making it clear to the American public that the danger was not just a foreign issue, but a domestic one as well. This choice added a layer of authenticity and urgency to the film, further driving its message home. Following the film's release, and as viewers began to connect espionage activities with the German-American Bund, a district attorney who would later become New York's governor, Thomas Dewey, brought embezzlement and forgery charges against Kuhn, ultimately leading to his conviction later that same year. Following his release from prison in 1943, Kuhn's U.S. citizenship was revoked, and he was deported to Germany as an enemy of the state. Then, following the end of World War II, the newly formed German government arrested and convicted Kuhn for being a major Nazi offender. Warner Brothers knew that if they showed a strong connection between their film and the real-world activities taking place within the United States, it would benefit their cause in shifting public opinion towards interventionism. Publicly, they did the bare minimum in altering their narrative just enough to avoid potential legal repercussions, following the advice of individuals like their lawyer, Morris Ebenstein. Despite this cautious approach, using names like the German American Bund invited legal action, although such efforts would ultimately fail. This strategic decision by Warner Brothers highlights their commitment to creating a powerful and relevant message. By maintaining a strong link to actual events and organizations, they aim to make the threat feel immediate and real to American audiences, thereby encouraging a shift away from isolationism. Warner Brothers was determined to shift public opinion towards interventionism due to the growing influence of Nazi ideology spreading throughout the United States. They meticulously collected information in real time while the FBI's case against Rumrich played out in the courts, and used contemporaneous notes to produce the first draft of their script. To aid their production, they acquired a wide range of research, including work from news research services and actual photos of the SS Europa. Warner Brothers diligently worked to keep the film's production a secret through multiple name changes and by temporarily hiding employee payments under different projects. When considering the totality of information discussed, Warner Brothers went to great lengths to create a powerful and authentic portrayal of the Nazi threat within the United States, with this film representing their initial response to the growing influence of Nazi propaganda. Ultimately, Confessions of a Nazi Spy stands as a testament to Warner Brothers' role as a trailblazer in the fight against Nazi ideology. By harnessing the power of cinema and adept narrative manipulation, the studio not only challenged prevailing attitudes, but also actively shaped public perception against Nazi Germany. Thank you for watching this episode of Tom Talks Film. My sources for this project are listed here and in the video description below. If you have enjoyed any of my videos, please make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment. Until next time, get out there and make something interesting.